This show sucks. This show fucking sucks. Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Raw, of course, was from the Amway Center in Orlando, and my god, this show was terrible tonight. This show was absolutely fucking terrible. It was boring, god awful. Of course, this was the fallout after Clash of Champions, and I'm gonna jump right into the review. So Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with the legends. We had Ric Flair make his way out. We had the Big Show come out, and then Christian, and then Shawn Michaels. So all four of these guys came out. They got into the ring. Shawn Michaels ended up taking the mic, and he ended up saying that it's been a long time since he's done this. And he welcomes everyone to Monday Night Raw. So Shawn Michaels then ended up introducing Drew McIntyre. McIntyre came out, and McIntyre ended up saying that this is really cool. Standing here with these four guys in the ring, these four legends in the ring. McIntyre ended up saying that he wasn't expecting what happened last night, and that he thanks them for his win over Randy Orton in the ambulance match. So McIntyre ended up saying what brought us all together was our disdain for Randy Orton. He wanted to say they beat the hell out of each other last night, him and Randy Orton. But in the end, he put Orton in the ambulance. And he ended up saying, now he stands before us, still your WWE champion. So Shawn Michaels ended up saying that one of the reasons they came out here was to collectively thank McIntyre for beating Randy Orton's ass. So he ended up talking about how they got together while they were recovering from the attacks that they each got from Randy Orton, and they wanted to help even the odds. And Michaels ended up saying that he hopes McIntyre isn't mad for their interference. And he jokes around saying that if McIntyre is mad, it was all Flair's fault. So McIntyre ended up saying that he doesn't care who starts beating on Randy Orton. So Randy Orton comes onto the screen. Orton ended up saying that he hopes McIntyre is enjoying this moment because it will not last, and that it will not be over until he says it's over. Orton went on to say that if McIntyre thinks he went through hell last night, he has no idea what hell is. Orton then went on to say that he won't be finished with McIntyre until he's the WWE champion. So McIntyre ended up asking if Orton is going to beg for another match with him, which I hope not. We're getting tired of seeing Orton and McIntyre go at it. But Orton, he's still doing a good job, in being a heel. He's one of the best heels on WWE television, right now. And he's just that entertaining. So Orton ended up saying that McIntyre doesn't get it, and that he doesn't need to beg. He will be given a match because he is Randy Orton. Orton ended up saying that the only reason he's here is to remind everyone that there is a price to be paid when you cross the legend killer. So it ended up showing Orton grabbing his suitcase, and he was leaving the Amway Center. McIntyre ended up saying that it's such a shame that Orton has left the building. He said all this talk about titles has given him an idea. So McIntyre ended up saying that he's in the ring with legends, and he's trying to cement his own legacy. He ended up going on to say that he doesn't feel great from last night, and that he's going to put his WWE he's going to be putting the WWE Championship on the line because that's the champion he wants to be. So then McIntyre ended up issuing an open challenge to anyone who he hasn't faced for the WWE Championship. So McIntyre ended up telling Flair, Big Show, Christian, and Shawn Michaels that he will join their party later on. Just don't get too drunk. So that was basically that. So we had, of course, the open challenge from Drew McIntyre. Anybody in the back could face him for the WWE Championship that he never faced. And a return superstar who hasn't been seen since Elimination Chamber returned tonight, which I will get to that. But he's been out since then and came back tonight on Monday Night Raw, which you'll probably know because it's in the title of the video. And then we had Kayla Braxton backstage. Kayla Braxton was backstage with Zelina Vega. Kayla was asking Zelina about her being a poor sport after last night's loss to Asuka. Vega ended up saying that she's just getting started here, but everyone will feel so sorry for Asuka when she's done with her. So Vega ended up going on about how Asuka won't be ready for her. So Asuka then ended up appearing, and Asuka ended up saying to Zelina Vega that she will be ready, but she just hopes Zelina Vega is ready to lose again. So we had a rematch from last night where it was Zelina Vega versus Asuka. The Raw Women's Championship was on the line again. And that was the match that we got right here. But what was any different that we saw last night? It was the same shit. Asuka ended up winning. Asuka locked in the Asuka lock on Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega ended up tapping out. There you go. Asuka won, retained the Raw Women's Championship. Nothing different than what we saw last night. It was the same shit. And we saw throughout the night that the Big Show, Ric Flair, Christian, and Shawn Michaels were backstage, and they were playing poker throughout the night. So we saw that. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Andrade Cien Almas was in the ring, and Andrade ended up yelling at Zelina Vega about how Zelina is nothing without him. And I have to agree with Andrade on that. I mean, when you had Zelina Vega and Andrade, where Zelina was managing Andrade, it was great. It was a good pairing, with them. So you liked seeing both Andrade and Zelina together. But now Zelina, wants nothing to do with Andrade and also Garza. She broke apart from the both of them. Now we come to see that Zelina Vega, is kind of, possibly really nothing, without Andrade or Garza. So Andrade ended up calling Zelina Vega the weak link. And he ended up also calling Garza the weak link. And of course, Garza was injured last night at Clash of Champions after the match. There was no saying on when he will return or how many months this injury is going to be for him. But Andrade ended up saying that he was the one holding the team together. And he ended up taunting Zelina Vega for losing to Asuka twice. And Andrade ended up ranting, and he wanted someone to come out and face him. So the person that came out and faced Andrade was Keithley. So Keithley made his way out in that shitty, horrible music that he still has. I'm like, I heard that Keithley wants them like the WWE, like I guess who's in charge of the music. Keithley wants them to change his music up. From what I've heard, he wants new music. He doesn't want this shitty generic music that they have for him now. I don't know what's the point. What was the point on changing Keithley's music? What was so wrong with the music that he had when he came out in NXT? It was awesome. What was the point in WWE changing his music and giving him this generic, shitty ass, garbage music as he comes out? I mean, it is absolutely terrible. So Andrade versus Keithley, the bell rang. Keithley ended up manhandling Andrade. He was focusing on Andrade's arm. Andrade came back, was delivering some forearms to Keithley. Keithley ended up launching Andrade, and Andrade ended up loading with some strikes in the corner. At the end of the match, you had Keithley win the match, delivers the Spirit Bomb to Andrade, and that was that. Keithley ended up winning. Overall, the match itself, it was just meh, in my opinion. Then we saw the Hurt Business was at catering. We saw this guy sitting at their table, and he wasn't paying attention to them. Bobby Lashley then bullied this guy out of his seat, and then he was then out of his plate. And we saw just Lashley MVP and Shelton Benjamin, all the Hurt Business, laughing at this guy. Cedric Alexander wasn't there, so he wasn't even on the show tonight. So that was that. We had the bullshit Jobber Ninja Turtle 24/7 title on TV tonight, where it was hot potato between R-Truth and Tozawa and his Foot Clan and Drew Gulak. You had this garbage shit of a title going back and forth, where you had a Foot Clan, one of Tozawa's ninjas, a Foot Clan, end up approaching and gave R-Truth a letter, and that it was from Tozawa. It was the letter declared that Tozawa was eaten by a shark last week, and we had Tozawa end up attacking from behind. So I'm like, oh yeah, so Tozawa didn't even get eaten by the shark last week. So Tozawa ended up attacking from behind. He ended up pinning R-Truth to win the 24/7 title. And then the Foot Clan guy ended up dropping Tozawa, pinned Tozawa for the title. And the ninja was revealed to be Drew Gulak. So Gulak ended up bragging, saying, oh yeah, I got my 24/7 title back. I got this shit of a title back. Well, he didn't really say that though. But Gulak ended up turning around, and R-Truth came back with a shot, and it looked like he hit Gulak with a briefcase. So Truth ended up covering Gulak, won back the 24/7 title. Truth ended up running away with this title. Don't even fucking care. Why is this garbage of a title still on fucking TV? Please retire it. Like, we haven't seen enough of this title. We saw this last night. Please, get this title off of TV. Please retire it. So then we had Buddy Murphy backstage. He was on his phone. He was texting on his phone. Rollins then ended up approaching him. He starts hugging Buddy Murphy, calling him his disciple. Buddy Murphy then looked annoyed. Rollins then ended up asking, what's wrong? And he ended up saying that it's going to be a beautiful night tonight. Rollins ended up saying that, most importantly, the Mysterio family will be on King's Court. Of course, King's Court, hosted by Jerry the King Lawler. And he ended up saying that he can't wait to see what the Mysterio family has to say. He ended up telling Murphy to lighten up because he can't wait to see what the Mysterio family says. Rollins ended up saying that this is a huge night for Buddy Murphy and for him. Rollins ended up telling Murphy to go try on a suit that he bought. So Buddy Murphy then ended up leaving. He forgot his phone. So Rollins ended up picking the phone up. Rollins ended up picking Buddy Murphy's phone up and puts it in his pocket. And then we see a smirk on Rollins' face as Monday Night Raw went to commercial. And so that was that. So then we had the King's Court with Jerry the King Lawler. He ended up mentioning how Seth Rollins tried to say last week how Dominic Mysterio might not be the real son of Rey Mysterio. Yes, WWE was using an old storyline that they used with Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero from 2005 when they were still when Rey and Eddie were feuding at that time. One of my favorite feuds around that time in 2005 with Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. And Seth Rollins played the role of Maury Povich last week. And yeah, I was like, yeah, the Maury show called. He wants his show back. So yeah, Seth Rollins played Maury Povich last week. So Lawler then ended up introducing the Mysterio family. And they all came out. Lawler ended up thanking them for joining him. And he ended up asking Rey if he wants to comment on what Seth Rollins said last week. And there was a gold couch that was set up in the ring. So Angie and Aaliyah were sitting on the couch. Rey ended up saying that Seth can't even control his own house. So now he wants to disrupt his. Rey ended up saying that it's obvious that Dominic and Aaliyah are his. Well, of course. Of course they are. Rollins just, wanted to play Maury Povich. He'll be the next host of the Maury show if Maury retires. There you go. Seth Rollins could get the DNA results and go, oh, when it comes to Rey Mysterio, you are not the father. And then, that's that. Seth Rollins could do that. He could take over from Maury Povich when he retires. So, Rey and his wife end up saying that he have worked extremely hard at building their family. He ended up going on and says it takes a truly evil and simple person to try and fabricate the kind of lies that Seth Rollins end up having. Dominic ended up saying this has gone on too far and too long. He ended up saying the next time he sees Rollins, he's going to put an end to this. So Jerry Lawler ended up bringing up how Aaliyah got upset with Rey Mysterio last week and how she was approached by Buddy Murphy backstage. So Jerry Lawler ended up asking Aaliyah how, she's feeling after what happened last week. She ended up saying that Buddy Murphy came looking for her, not the other way around. She ended up saying that her parents have an image for her. And she ended up saying at the end of the day, she is 19. She ended up saying those who surround themselves with Seth Rollins need to reevaluate their life choices. And she ended up saying that Seth Rollins is a bad person. And that Seth Rollins is a fraud. So Rollins then ended up appearing on the screen. Rollins ended up saying that he understands if he's the last person they want to see after last week. And that he has something important to tell the Mysterio family. He ended up saying that it will hurt him more than them. But it's the truth. Rollins ended up saying that one of them isn't being 100% honest with the family. He ended up saying that the truth is that Aaliyah might not be telling the truth in regards to how she feels about Buddy Murphy. So Rollins ended up saying that he knows they don't believe anything that comes out of his mouth, but they don't have to. They can see it for themselves. And so Rollins then ended up revealing a conversation, a text conversation between Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah, which Seth Rollins found on Buddy Murphy's phone. And that's why Seth ended up taking, Buddy Murphy's phone, just so he could humiliate Buddy Murphy. So Rollins ended up saying that it seems like Aaliyah is a little more friendlier than she's letting on. Rollins ended up promising Ray that this was for the greater good. So Aaliyah then ended up storming out of the ring, and she went to the back. Rey Mysterio ended up following. He opened the ropes for Angie. Aaliyah then ended up heading to the back, of course, with her parents. Rollins was still on the screen as Buddy Murphy then ended up approaching. Buddy Murphy was upset at what Rollins did with his phone. He ended up taking his phone. And Rollins ended up asking Buddy Murphy if he thinks he can hide things. Buddy Murphy ended up saying that he hasn't hid anything. Rollins ended up saying that the truth is important in their relationship. So Buddy Murphy then ended up grabbing Rollins. Dominic then ended up attacking Murphy, and he ended up dropping him backstage. And then we had Dominic then unloaded on Buddy Murphy, and they brawled. And officials ended up coming to break up the brawl between Dominic and Buddy Murphy. And that was that. So Rollins exposing a little relationship between Aaliyah and Buddy Murphy. And this is probably going to lead to Buddy Murphy versus Seth Rollins. I know that's probably going to be booked for Hell in a Cell, as how this is progressing. But that was that. So then we had Lana and Natalya made their way out. And as they made their way out, we had Tom Phillips talking about how Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are not medically cleared to compete. And from that, you could tell that it's COVID related with Jax and Shayna Baszler. But they're not medically cleared. They're probably have it's probably COVID related, or they're just precautionary stuff. But he ended up saying that they will still have to defend against the Riot Squad when they return, when Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler return. So that was that. That was what was announced. So then Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial. It was announced that Dominic will be taking on Buddy Murphy later on in the night for the 1,000th time. But Lana and Natalya were in the ring, and they both ended up threatening to stay out all night until Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are stripped of the women's tag team titles. So they end up going on about how they're being celebrities and influencers, and that they deserve to be the women's tag team champions. So then Adam Pearce came out, the guy who gets more TV time than Mustafa Ali and Bianca Belair. Thank God that Mustafa Ali was on the show tonight, which I'll get to. I gotta say thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Vince, for putting Mustafa Ali on TV tonight. So Adam Pearce came out, and he ended up saying that he can't strip Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler of the titles, but he can give Lana and Natalya a match against the newest members of the Raw Women's Division. So out came Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose came out, of course. The Miz ended up revealing on Talking Smack that Mandy Rose was moving from SmackDown to Monday Night Raw. It was all part of, the Miz's plan to get Mandy Rose away from Otis. And Mandy Rose did not come alone. She came out along with Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke also came over from SmackDown. So Dana Brooke is now part of the Monday Night Raw women's division. Yay! Like anyone's excited. So then we had the match. Natalya and Lana versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke end up winning the match. Mandy Rose end up delivering a knee strike to Lana. So there you go. More burying for Lana right there. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke win. Although I like what Mandy was wearing tonight in that pink attire there that she wore, her ring gear. So, garbage match. And I gotta say, the only positive of this Monday Night Raw tonight was that we did not have no Raw Fairground. There was no Raw Fairground tonight. That was the only positive of this show. Hopefully last week's Raw was the final time that we would see Raw Fairground, because Raw Fairground is an absolute failure. I hope that is done and gone after last week's show. Hopefully last week was the end of Raw Fairground. Hope that's the case. So then we had Aleister Black. He was backstage. He was cutting the promo on Kevin Owens. Black ended up saying that Kevin Owens is a good man, and good men don't let bad things happen to them. He went on and he ended up saying that Kevin Owens also has a knack for betraying people. Black ended up recalling how Owens said he was previously with family, so he couldn't help him when he had his eye hurt months ago. So Aleister Black ended up taking the covering off of his eye, saying that he doesn't forget. And so that was that. Then we had Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black once again. Before the match got underway, we saw the Street Profits. They joined Big Show, Ric Flair, Christian, and Shawn Michaels for poker. Aleister Black came out, and Kevin Owens was in the ring. Aleister Black came out to new theme music. And I'm like, why give Aleister Black new theme music? What was wrong with the old music that he had? I don't understand. I don't understand why they're changing certain superstars' theme music. If it's not broke, don't fix it. What was the point on giving Aleister Black new theme music? It doesn't fit him. So, match got started. Aleister Black ended up taking control of Kevin Owens, and it was just back and forth between them. You know, we've seen these guys go at it before. There's nothing different that we've seen in all the other times that they had their matches. Kevin Owens ended up winning by disqualification because Aleister Black kept swinging at Kevin Owens. The referee ended up accidentally getting dropped from Aleister Black, and the match ended up getting called. The referee rang the bell, so Kevin Owens ended up winning by disqualification because of Aleister Black, and the referee ended up getting dropped. Post-match, Aleister Black started yelling at the referee. The ref ended up going to the timekeeper's area, and he ended up declaring that Aleister Black is disqualified because he struck him. So Kevin Owens ended up dropping Aleister Black with the stunner. And that was that. So yeah, Kevin Owens won by disqualification. So then we saw Mustafa Ali. He was walking out of the Hurt Business locker room. I was like, thank you, Bruce. I said earlier, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Vince, for putting Mustafa Ali on the show. Let him get TV time. Let's see less of Adam Pearce, please. Let's see less of him. I tell you, the guy gets more screen time than Mustafa Ali, Bianca Belair, when Mustafa Ali and Bianca Belair should be on TV every week. But no, we have to have Adam Pearce on TV. For what reason, I don't know. Adam Pearce needs to get off WWE television. So the Hurt Business end up walking up, and Mustafa Ali ended up saying that he just got lost and that it was a mistake. So Ricochet and Apollo Crews run up to Mustafa Ali to stand with him. MVP ended up saying that they can get it tonight, and there's no need to wait. So I guess we're going to be having we had a 6-man tag earlier in the night. So yeah, we did have a 6-man tag. And then we had this bullshit, Drew Gulak versus Akira Tozawa versus R-Truth, the triple threat for the 24/7 title. Who gives a shit? R-Truth ended up winning. Attitude adjustment on top of Tozawa, where R-Truth ended up scooping Drew Gulak, dropped him on top of Tozawa. R-Truth retained. Who gives a shit? Charlie Caruso was backstage with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Charlie Caruso ended up asking how their team came to be. Mandy Rose ended up saying that she's had some ups and downs lately, but Dana has always been there for her, and that she's an amazing athlete. Yeah. Dana Brooke ended up talking about Mandy Rose being such an inspiration, one who gets knocked down but always gets up fighting. They end up saying that they know the Riot Squad is next to get a shot for the Women's Tag Team Championships, but they will be watching, and they're coming for the titles. I don't know. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, them as a team, them coming on Monday Night Raw tonight. I don't buy them as a team. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, when I looked at the both of them together, they were a team. Now, them putting Dana Brooke with Mandy Rose, it just doesn't feel right. It's like Dana Brooke is out of place there, in my opinion. So now we had Dominic Mysterio versus Buddy Murphy. Seen this before. Dominic still good in the ring, still impressing, the fans with, his moves. But we had later on in the match, Aaliyah end up running down to the ringside area. Aaliyah ended up begging her brother Dominic to put the weapon down because Dominic ended up grabbing a kendo stick from under the ring. And Dominic ended up telling Aaliyah to leave so that he can handle this. So Aaliyah ended up begging Dominic to put the kendo stick down. So Dominic ended up entering the ring with the kendo stick. Buddy Murphy then pleaded. So Dominic was distracted by his own sister, by Aaliyah. And that distraction allowed Buddy Murphy to roll Dominic up and win the match. So Buddy Murphy ended up winning thanks to the distraction from Aaliyah. Post-match, Dominic ended up attacking Buddy Murphy with the kendo stick. Aaliyah ended up getting in the way. She ended up begging Dominic to stop and that it's not what Seth Rollins, said it is. So Dominic ended up going on about why he's doing this, and that he's doing this to protect the family and their legacy. And Dominic then ended up telling Aaliyah that Ray, their dad, was right, that Aaliyah is naive. So then Aaliyah then slapped Dominic in the face, and she stormed off up the stage, up the ramp. And that was that. So we're getting this whole, relationship storyline between Aaliyah and Buddy Murphy. But then we saw the Hurt Business backstage. MVP ended up throwing a water bottle at a janitor, ended up telling the janitor to clean up the water. And that was that. Then we saw Dolph Ziggler was with Adam Pearce in the back. Dolph ended up telling Adam Pearce that he has the perfect guy to answer McIntyre's open challenge. Pearce ended up reminding Dolph Ziggler that he is not eligible for the match. Ziggler then ended up realizing that, and he insisted he has the perfect challenger for McIntyre. Then we had the Hurt Business versus Mustafa Ali, Apollo Crews, and Ricochet. The match, we've seen, Apollo Crews, Ricochet go with the Hurt Business before. The only thing that was different was Mustafa Ali is in this. But it was good to see Mustafa Ali in the ring. He's been off TV for a while. He hasn't had TV time. But he was good here. And at the end of the match, you had Mustafa Ali end up going to the top, delivered the 450 to MVP. There you go. Mustafa Ali, Ricochet, and Apollo Crews end up winning the match. But overall, the match itself, it was okay. It was good to see Mustafa Ali in the ring again. After he's not been on TV in months. And then we had a vignette on Bianca Belair. So, Bianca was shown on TV, but let's get her in the ring, please. And she ended up saying that she wins a sprint over two men and another woman. And, she wants to go again. She ends up giving these guys a head start. And she ran the third race against one of the guys. And she jumps hurdles. And Bianca ended up winning it. So please, let's just get Bianca Belair back in the ring. And let's get her on TV every single week. Yeah, let's see her on TV every week. And let's not have to see Adam Pearce every single week. So then we had the main event, which was the Drew McIntyre Open Challenge, WWE Championship on the line. McIntyre ended up calling out a challenger. And no one came out. So Dolph Ziggler ended up coming out. McIntyre then ended up reminding Dolph that he is not eligible for the Open Challenge. And Dolph ended up saying that this is going to be special. And then Al Kane making his return to WWE television. Glorious Robert Roode. Robert Roode is back. So he headed to the ring. Of course, his partner was Dolph Ziggler. So Roode ended up in the ring post at his Glorious. Plays in his theme song. And Robert Roode has been off TV since March. Since Elimination Chamber. That was the last time that we saw him. So that was 6 months 6 months he's been off TV since Elimination Chamber, which Elimination Chamber was that week. It was after when I went to Monday Night Raw, which was the go-home show, March 2nd, which was at the Barclays Center. So that Sunday was Elimination Chamber. So that was the last that we saw of Robert Roode. And he was out because he lives up in Canada. And because of the pandemic, he wasn't allowed to get into the States because of the pandemic. So he wasn't working. So, but he finally made his return to Monday Night Raw tonight. And in his return, he ended up losing. He lost to McIntyre. So he returned to lose to McIntyre. So McIntyre ended up retaining the WWE Championship. He nailed Robert Roode with the Claymore, and that was that. So then, after the match, the camera went backstage, and the main event between McIntyre and Robert Roode. It was decent in my opinion. But then after that, we had the camera went backstage, and we saw the janitor from earlier, the one that MVP threw the water bottle at and told him to pick it up. And the janitor's face was, covered, and he pulled a chair off the cart. And he walks over to the Legends Lounge door. And the janitor was revealed to be Randy Orton. So Randy Orton, before he went into the Legends Lounge, he put on a pair of night vision goggles. And he entered the room with the chair. So Orton ended up entering the room. Orton then turned the lights off in the room. And he was destroying the Big Show, Ric Flair, Christian, and Shawn Michaels. He was destroying them with chair shots. Because we heard bang, bang, bang. Banging from the chair. And then Orton ended up turning the lights back on in the lounge. Pulls his goggles up, pulls his night vision goggles up. And we saw Flair, Big Show, Christian, and Shawn Michaels laid out. And that the room was destroyed. Orton ended up exiting the room, goes back to his cart, and he was hiding his face again. Orton then ended up putting the officials in the right direction because he was pointing as the officials were there. So he ended up pointing to the Legends Lounge. Officials end up running into the room, and Orton then end up walking away, pushing his cart as Monday Night Raw went off the air. But I enjoyed this ending with Randy Orton. With him having night vision goggles, going into the Legends Lounge, shutting the lights off, and he could see, with those night vision goggles, he could see Flair and Big Show, Christian, and Shawn Michaels in there, and that's how he laid them out with the chair. But really liked what Orton did here. This was pretty cool. Everything else on Monday Night Raw tonight, absolute garbage. This show fucking sucks. This show sucks. So anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and there will be no Dynamite review on Wednesday night. Possibly won't be up until Thursday. So, just wanted to put that out. So, till then, I'll see you all later.